Hey, welcome to Whiskey and Whitetails. You're home for bullshitting and drinking whiskey. Happy New Year, Gus.
I'm Matt, and
Eh,
we're both. Neither of us are drinking. We're both sober. Doing dry January. If you wanna participate, or if you are, let us know.
Yep. Down on the alcohol consumption and up in the red meat consumption this month.
Yeah, I'm super strict. Super strict. But
So
it's
far,
gonna
I
be
feel
good.
great.
Oh, wait, we're firing on all cylinders for this podcast. You're in for
Yeah,
a
no
treat.
shit. Yeah, I'm also like for those who have been on carnivore before. This happened to me the last time, and it didn't happen. It sort of faded away, but early, like my sleep gets off, and you and I were talking about this earlier. So, like the past 4 days, I'm up at like 2:30, 3 o'clock, and I just can't go back to sleep.
Yeah.
So I'm in
Yep.
this weird thing where I'm wide awake right now, but my body's like, you probably should go to sleep.
Yeah. I felt great. I mean, I go to bed at like 10:30, 11:30, somewhere in there, and my alarm's set for 5, and I'm up at 3:30, four
Yeah,
o'clock without fail.
dude, it's
And
great, man. I
I
get
feel
half my
great.
day shit done before the kids are even awake.
Yeah. We also have time to prepare something like the podcast you're about to hear.
Yeah, it was a good one. So
Yep.
hope you enjoy it. But before we do any of that, though, thanks to the Waypoint Network for having us. Thank you to our Patreon, as always, for their support. If you want to join the Patreon, I think we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, but you can go to patreon.com/whiskey and whitetails and, help us with planning and keeping these podcasts going and contributing to the content that we cover.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks to you, the listener, the viewers, for all your support. We greatly appreciate it.
100%. I think that's it. We're going to keep this short and sweet because it's a pretty good topic. We just want you to get into it. So,
All right. Enjoy.
goodbye. All right. We are recording has started.
Yeah. Happy New Year. We
Yeah. Happy New
haven't
Year.
recorded since before the holidays. Took a little bit of
Yep.
a break, but glad to be back. Um, I say Happy New Year. It wasn't the happiest start to the new year. And
We might as well
no,
talk about that a little bit too.
yeah, we'll talk about all that stuff. Before we get into all that, um, any other updates, anything to share with the folks? I know you didn't get to do much hunting. I didn't really get to do much hunting at all. This year was a
No.
weird year, man. This is the first year in a long time that I don't think I hunted more than 2 or 3 times. I didn't shoot anything this year, so sucks, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. It was, not the ideal situation for any of us. I do have an update on my August 15th venture.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. The guy that ruined my season, basically.
yeah.
So I went to a place that, where I used to work there. So I
Hmm.
went to this place and I was talking to the people that own it, and I was trying to get something from them. That they told me to come back in February. But anyway, I was talking to him and I was like, by the way, I never told you about it because he knows this guy. And so I was like, I told him exactly what happened. And then I told him who it was.
Hmm.
And he was like, I gotta be honest, dude, I was racking my brain trying to figure out
Who he
who
was
I
talking about?
knew. Yeah, who that would be. And he was like, and that's probably one of the last people I would have guessed. And I was like, really? And I was like, well, now you know. And his dad goes, who is that? And he was like, do you remember? And he said this guy's name. I don't remember his name. He's like, do you remember so and so? He was like, the guy you made leave. And he was like, yeah. He was like, the guy that cussed my wife out and lost his mind here. And of all the people in this town to do
Oh,
that to,
so that's
it's
his
not
MO.
not him. No, what? It was his brother.
Oh, okay.
But all the people to do that to disrespect someone's wife in this town, that ain't the one.
No, sir.
You know why, but anyway, yeah, so that's his brother. So he was like, that's crazy. And I was like, well, turns out, they probably grew up in the same household. They probably got the same person on the inside.
Right. Yeah.
So he was like, yeah, well, I don't have to worry about it because he's not welcome here anymore. And I was like, my man.
Nice.
But anyway, yeah, no, I didn't get to do much hunting. I hunted with Peter from Burt Church.
Yeah.
That was the last hunt I did. And I saw a deer like pretty far in the woods, but there was no way I was going to get a shot on it.
Mhm.
No, man, not a good season. But hopefully this year I'm living in the woods during hunting season.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
hopefully this year's better.
No
But
doubt. Yeah, it will be. It will be a good year, I think.
I think the only other update we have is the Etsy store is no longer a thing. If you'd like to buy any calls from us, hats, whatever, just gonna have to hit us up.
Yep.
We are trying to minimize our tax. We got some personal life changes coming up, so we're trying to minimize what we do with the business. So
Doing
we're
some
probably
streamlining.
gonna, yeah, probably gonna revamp some stuff, and we're gonna try and keep the podcast going. We're gonna, Patreons. As long as we have Patreon, we're gonna keep the podcast. So that's kind of the deal. So if you want to join Patreon and help make it better, please do. You go to patreon.com/whiskey and whitetails. But yeah, shouts out to those guys. Those are the reasons all you freeloaders are getting to hear this episode for, I guess, every episode from now on. So we're very thankful to Patreon for that.
The OGs, man. Those guys, most of those guys have been there from day one. So
yeah, and we haven't lost a paid member in over a year. So
nice.
Clearly,
Yeah.
It's worth it. I think that's all I got. We were gonna get into, we're gonna talk a little bit about immigration. So, and I'm gonna let you stew on that before I give you my why we're allowed to talk about it, because this is not a political podcast. So, we're gonna explain why we're gonna talk about it. But yeah, the Cybertruck thing. So as of recording this, it's Saturday, January 4th. Lots of stuff has come out.
Cybertruck one first, or the New Orleans one first?
Well, the New Orleans one, unless you have anything, I was just going to say, fuck that guy.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything else to say about that.
I don't have a ton of stuff to say about it other than
I'll let you cook.
Yeah. There's a lot of things about it that just a couple things. One, there's a lot of people that want to find connections between the two. And I think for right now, based on what I'm seeing, there are some things that can be done to draw connections between the two, but I think they're a little far-fetched.
I mean, well, I'll give input on that one. So I keep seeing they both went to Fort Bragg, and then I see people say, yeah, and at Fort Bragg, the PSYOP school is there. And then I'm like, yeah, there's a fuck ton of schools at Fort Bragg. I've been to schools at Fort Bragg. Fort Bragg is not, it's Fort Liberty now, but Fort Bragg, that is not a connection to make. I would guess the vast majority of Army folks have been to Fort Bragg at some point. Yeah. Also, they connected. They both went to Afghanistan. They were both in the Army. That's three things in common, and I don't believe in coincidences. All right, chill out. Right. If those three things make you a terrorist, put me on the watch list, because I also went to Afghanistan, was in the Army, and I've been to Fort Bragg. So
I told someone the other day, I said, put aside the fact that Fort Bragg or Liberty, whatever you want to call it, is the second, I think it's the second largest military installation in the United States. It is enormous.
I would have thought it was the first, but
I think there's one in Texas that's bigger.
Fort Hood's probably bigger.
Fort Hood, I think, is the one that's bigger.
But I bet there's more people at Fort Bragg.
100%, because you have the 82nd Airborne, fucking huge.
Massive.
And you have JSOC is there, and that organization has grown, I mean, leaps and bounds. And then you have 3rd Group Special Forces there. And that's just the big ones. There's tons of others.
Dude, they have the 20th Engineering Brigade, the 108th Air Defense, the Air Artillery, the Fire Brigade, the Military Police Brigade. They have,
there's
the Airborne Corps is there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge unit. It's part of they own the 82nd Division, but the Airborne Corps is fucking massive.
Right. So my point when I was kind of replying to somebody on a thread. I've gotten really, really active on X since Trump won the election, and I can say shit, not
since it got good.
Yeah, since it got fun. So someone was drawing all these conclusions, and I was like, look, I stated all that. I was like, drawing a conclusion. I mean, you might as well say they both drank water.
Yeah, I was saying that's like saying they both had a master bedroom. They both went to Fort Bragg. Yeah, they both had a master bedroom. So look out.
Now there's some people who are, because he rented a Lightning truck, and there's the whole PSYOP thing, and people are looking at different units in the Army. That how many units that are involved in the intel world, PSYOP, and not even just intel, use a lightning bolt as part of their
the lightning
symbolism.
Bolt? Yeah, a lot.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, lightning bolts and arrowheads are like, that's the fucking thing.
And people are like, the intel community, the PSYOP, look at the unit and look at the lightning bolts on it, and then lightning struck the Capitol the night before. I'm like,
that's retarded.
Come on.
That's
people are really like, it's funny. Sometimes I think, man, maybe I'm a little out of my mind with some of this, and then I see other people, and I'm like, I'm pretty normal, I think.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, sucks. I've been in New Orleans more times than I can count. Spent tons of time on Bourbon Street. It's terrible. Now, so you have a lot of people who the way some of it was handled was pretty shitty, right? That FBI agent who was like,
I haven't looked into it at all.
Okay, so afterwards, I think it was the mayor or local law enforcement was like, this is a potential act of terrorism. And then short, like 10 minutes later, the FBI chick gets up there and she's like, um, this is not an act of terrorism. And uh, at that point, everyone had already seen the flag that the guy was carrying,
Yeah, he had
which
an
I'd like
ISIS
to make.
flag on the back of the truck. So
Well, and someone made a point to say that it's not exclusively an ISIS flag, that it's used by a bunch of the different organizations that, because what it says on it, the translation is something about something to Allah, there's only one God, or the only one and only God, or some shit like that. And a bunch of different terrorist organizations use it.
yeah,
But
so it's that script thing, and what it says is that there is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. And
correct.
that is what ISIS uses, the same
Okay.
phrase.
So
There
they
is no
use the
God
same
but
phrase,
God. Yeah,
but and so this will get into the immigration thing and some other things we're going to talk about eventually. But one of the CIA targeters and analysts that I was listening to talk about it was like, everybody rushes to blame this on ISIS because of that flag, and that's exactly what Al Qaeda wants and the
yeah,
Taliban want, because it takes the attention off of them.
yeah,
And because of that, they have been operating with some impunity in a sense. Now that they've taken over Afghanistan, um, you know, our government is working with. It's so fucking weird, dude. We've been sending them money to the
yeah.
tune of 40+ million dollars a week.
We've
Um,
discussed that on here. How sick that
yeah,
makes me.
and we've been essentially funding their terror operation, and the homeland attack. That if according to these, there's been 4 different people that have gotten on the a number of podcasts, but the one I listen to the most for this stuff is the Sean Ryan show, because he's a really good interviewer. But they've all agreed that that group is planning widespread attacks across the United States. It's supposed to be this year, and
Yeah,
they spent the last 4 years putting over 1,000 people through a training pipeline. And they
yep,
talked about how that pipeline works. All that's been funded by our own fucking government.
yep.
Anyways, if you were curious how your tax dollars are being used, keep an eye on the news this year, and you'll see.
Yeah, I would go listen to the last 2 or 3 Sean Ryan podcasts if you haven't, because yeah,
Yeah. Any of the ones with her name is Sarah. I can't forget her last name. She's super smart. She's been like personally, and her team been personally involved in taking down a bunch of big terrorists. And she's been bringing a bunch of shit to light, and no one's listened to her. No one's wanted to hear it. And then, of course, uh, after that, everybody wants to have her on their show. Um, but there's another guy. He goes by a handle or a call sign, Legend, and I believe he is.
hold on.
Um,
I forgot to plug in my thing, so this might shut off. What is going to shut off? Hold on 1 second. All right, sorry.
that's good. Um, Anyway, so this guy goes by call sign Legend, and Sean Ryan did a podcast with him as well. But he goes into great detail about how our money is being used over there. And um, I heard last night, the one that the guy did last night, and I haven't had a chance to run this down, but he says that they have intel that indicates that Iranian man pads have successfully made their way into the United States through the southern border.
Wouldn't surprise me.
And so, anyways, it's not looking good for, and not to be so abysmal and down about it at everything, but 2025 is looking to be a rough year from potentially from a terrorism perspective. It's sad to say, but before we get into immigration and some of the stuff happening, I'll just say, stay vigilant, take care of yourself and your people. I would avoid big cities and
Especially
big
on
gatherings if you
holidays.
can.
Especially
Yeah,
on holidays. 'Cause
holiday, especially Christian holidays or
yeah,
any
St.
big,
Patrick's Day. I mean, all of them.
yep,
July
big,
4th is probably going to be crazy.
yeah, big anniversaries. I'm nervous about the inauguration.
Yeah.
So it's going to be an interesting year, and I'm sure things will continue to come out about this. But, anyways, yeah, fuck that guy in New Orleans. That sucks.
Well, for
Thoughts?
the Cyber Tesla truck thing. So when this happened, you and because it came out he was a Green Beret, and I hit you up, and I was like, "This stinks," because
Mhm.
smells funny.
Right,
Because I was deployed with Green Berets, and I know that every single one of them knows how to make a proper bomb.
right.
So having gas and camp gas cans and firework mortars in the back,
Hmm.
that's not something that they would do. I mean, like they know how to do them correctly. So
Right.
why would he do that? So I just immediately thought it was strange, but I didn't look much into it. I just figured, I just didn't know. I didn't think that the two were related, but then it came out that he had picked the truck up in PA or some shit and was driving to Mexico. Like he drove all over the place. It took him like 8 charges to get there.
Yeah.
And then I also found out that that truck was from Mexico. Somebody had imported it from Mexico,
Right.
like literally 2 days before.
Right.
So maybe he was driving it back for them. I don't know. I don't know, but it
Not sure.
seems weird.
It does seem weird.
Why would he pull in? Because if you look at the video when he pulled in the first time, there was a bunch of people outside and he
Yep.
left.
Well, let's run through I want to run through a series of kind of like a timeline so people have a picture before we start picking it apart.
Yeah. Okay.
Because at face value, and what the media is showing and just taking everything at face value, it seems plausible, right? But then in the last, have you seen the new set of notes or letter that was pulled
Yep.
off of his phone?
Yeah. Which
Um,
that came out after you and I talked last night. So
yeah,
now I'm like, well, maybe not.
it's weird because they're kind of they're either very contradictive, they're kind of contradictive in mindset, and they cover different, they
They
come from different
contradict the email,
points of
and
view.
I wonder if that wasn't put out to squash the email.
So that's something I want to get into is
Okay.
which one of those
Yeah.
are potentially, because yeah, okay, we'll get into it. So
Yeah.
he gets oh damn, this is not the right site. I thought I had one with an actual individual like dates listed and everything. But anyways, so he, like you said, he rents that truck, and then it's like the 30th, I think, when he rents the truck, or the 31st. He drives to Vegas. Um, Based on just at face value, he seems to kind of drive around a little bit, park, he leaves again, comes back and parks in front of that the entrance of that hotel, and then it blows up. Now,
I also backtrack. I also was
mhm,
like, he would know that that thing's bulletproof. So why would he pick a Cybertruck? That was my other.
correct.
That's
Yeah,
weird.
yeah, and
Anyway,
that's so not only that, so he blows it up, all the things happen. Nobody really gets hurt except for him.
2 people went to a hospital. They were released same day, and so
Right.
people are like, he hurt people. Well, I mean, there was an explosion, so sure,
Sure.
but there was really nobody outside. Nobody was
No.
injured. Nobody was killed. Nobody was gravely injured. They were all released same day.
Right. Now, they said that they found him with what they say is a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. And in the vehicle, they found a AR pistol without any optics.
Which is odd.
He also didn't have an arm brace on it, aka a kind of a soft stock, which it's not a heavy round. A guy like him probably doesn't need it, but
Yeah.
seems, an optic and that sort of thing. Those are things that someone who uses a weapon regularly is going to feel comfortable having if they really wanted to use or intended to use that weapon. I
It's also
feel
something a Green Beret would have in his closet at home, a
hundred
fully
percent.
decked out with optic.
And records show that he bought the two guns like 3 or 4 days before, which is weird. Like, why
Yeah.
wouldn't he just? I don't know any Green Berets that don't have a slew of weapons
Yeah.
at home.
Same.
Um, and then they want me to believe that the gunshot wound that he shot himself with that Desert Eagle that they found in there. Now,
Yeah.
the Desert Eagle was found in between where his feet would have been on the floor. I don't know how many people that are listening have ever shot a Desert Eagle, but
I have.
unless he put it under his chin and it fell down, it just doesn't, like, you can barely control that thing with 2 hands.
Yeah, I have one. Gus has shot it.
Yeah,
I have a video of it. I almost want to just throw it in here. It's first time you shoot it, it's scary. That motherfucker, it kicks.
dude,
You
it
can like,
barks loud, it kicks
yeah,
hard. So, I could see maybe if he'd done it up here, if you did it sideways, that gun's going across the vehicle.
yep.
Now, but now we have to ask ourselves the question that where it gets tricky.
Does it say where he was shot? In the
No,
front of the head?
I haven't seen that anywhere yet, and I'm curious if a coroner's report has been released or if it even will. Um, which came first, the chicken or the egg, the gunshot wound or the explosion? And we
Yeah.
talked a little bit about this and some of the ways that might have happened. Now, all that being said, some background details. Um, he had an ex-wife that was super liberal. I guess he since divorced her and had gotten remarried, but now I'm hearing that marriage had broken up.
Which is
Um,
common in the soft community.
It is, unfortunately, and someone also mentioned that they discovered that the DNA of the individual from the vehicle does not match the DNA of what is supposed to be his son. So the speculation is his son someone else's? Also wouldn't be a surprise in
Yeah.
the South
Guys
community with
deployed all the
deployment
time, you know,
and
wife fucks
back and
around.
forth. Joe, you know,
Jody is a thing.
it is. Or was that not really him in that vehicle? And then
Yeah.
and you know why would he go now? They've and it's all over Twitter or X if you go look at it. But they went and they pulled all the footage off the Tesla truck of him stopping every time he stops to charge. They've got video of him walking around doing things. He's got a headlamp on. I mean, typical SF guys walking around with a headlamp, checking the vehicle, everything you would expect out of it. He doesn't look like a guy that's paranoid to be followed. He doesn't look like he's kind of looking over his shoulder, but he could also just be calm. He could be kind of in his element and, you know, in a operational sort of flow state. I've never been there. I don't know,
I would
but
expect
it,
him to not look panicked.
yeah, but it's just weird. There's a video right now. He's just while it's charging, he's walking around brushing off dirt off of, you know, the parts of the truck. I'm just like, that seems like an odd thing to be worried about
Yeah.
if you had these other things on your mind. Um, so now we get into the email that was sent ahead of time.
Well, just hold on. I had one
Yeah,
thought right there because
yeah,
I
yeah,
was thinking if he, whatever was going on, if he didn't know what was in the bomb, if he
right,
didn't know what was in it and he just thought he was delivering something to Mexico, maybe he
sure,
was trying to make sure he didn't look suspicious, that the vehicle was
right.
clean. You know, you weren't going to get pulled over in a cyber truck, probably.
Mhm.
I don't know,
Now,
but I'm not saying that. That was just a thought I just had.
if you read now, so some things later came out, and and you can go watch the podcast interview. I recommend you do. I recommend you read the email that came out. According to the timestamp and the people who've talked, he sent that on the 31st, and he asked, or the 30th, 31st, and he asked for his name and the email to not be made public until the first. Based on the information in the letter, and um, I don't want to sit here and read the whole thing, or
No,
should
yeah,
we?
well, I'm sure somebody's already.
Um,
I'm sure everybody's already read it by now.
yeah,
It's a
but
hot topic.
yeah, for sure. But basically, he goes into uh, all this stuff about, oh my god, I don't even know where to start. um, he says he's being followed, and that there was an attempted abduction of him. He says that he's purposely maintaining a public profile, and if you ask why, well, that makes a rendition harder to do when he's in broad daylight on American soil all the time. So
Yeah.
that's a tactic to preserve himself in that case. Um, but he feels he's being followed. He talks about that, and he goes into detail about how he has some things that happened overseas that were some war crimes that I think, based on this, seems like, and the other message that was found on his phone, seems like maybe he was dealing with some guilt and some things about how things were handled. And he also has some knowledge that he talks about with the drones and then being associated with China, um, and that technology and how it's a, you know, a huge threat that, you know, and he just goes on and on and on and on. Basically saying that he's trying to get to Mexico. And so my question is, and what you and I were talking about is, was this an effort to escape to Mexico so that he could be the whistleblower and be in Mexico and not and be harder to find? Um, and that went sideways, or was that letter manufactured to look that way?
And the point that I had told you yesterday, the thought that I had, again, these are just our thoughts. They're not like, we're not
Right.
fucking any smarter than anybody else. But the thought that I had just from my brain that, you know, working with these guys for a while and knowing how they think, if he did create that explosive, that V-bid by himself, which he did say that in the email. So if he did, then he probably had a pressure switch that he could hold on to. That way he knew that it was enough explosive to kill himself and not hurt anyone else. And that's why he was in a bulletproof truck. These are
Hmm.
just my thoughts again. Um, and if he was shot before, and the windshield on a Cybertruck is not bulletproof. So if he was shot through the windshield and his hand was on a pressure switch, when
Hmm.
he died, he would have let go of the pressure switch and it would have exploded. And that made the most sense to me I'm not sure how he would remote detonate the thing if he shot himself in the head with a Desert Eagle.
Yeah, I don't know. Um, there's also,
Also,
if you
mind you,
watch,
that's a 50 caliber. I'm not sure his head would have still been there.
and no one reported a gunshot, the sound of a gunshot. That's not a
And you
quiet
would,
gun.
and you'd hear that fucking thing.
Oh, absolutely, you would. And if you watch the video of the truck, there's no at no point do you see a flash inside the
Correct.
vehicle or some sort
And
of.
that a Desert Eagle spit flames.
Yeah, you don't see anything inside before the explosion takes place. Maybe he did them at the same time. I don't know, but
Sounds hard to do.
another thing that people are talking about is the fact that those cars can be self-driven. Now, if your
Right.
eyes are closed, you're looking at your phone too much. The vehicle Teslas will tell you to pay attention.
They will stop and then they remove your ability to self drive if you're not paying attention.
Right. But does that happen if the person's dead and their eyes are already open?
It's a good point. Didn't think about that one.
So there's just so many questions. And at the end of the day, like people are saying, well, here's the thing. If he wanted to level that hotel or the front part of that building, he knows how to build a bomb to
He
do
would
that.
have done it. And he would have done it in a box truck like everyone else has in the
Right.
past because you
But
can put
he's
a lot of shit in there.
right. And but he made it clear, and he even says that in his email that was sent, if he sent that one, that he has a V bid and he thinks that the feds know it.
Yeah.
So that's why they're being cautious to not apprehend him. Um, man, there's just so many questions.
A V bid's a good way to keep yourself safe. Nobody's going to want to come near that.
No, not at all. Now, the one of the weird things about the email that went out, and it was sent to the FBI by the gentleman that discovered it, who runs an Instagram page. Oh fuck, what's it called? Something Terminal CWO is the guy is the page. Um, and he went on, and it's just an hour podcast, which is pretty short for the Sean Ryan show. But they just go over the letter and they talk about when he received it. Um, but before that was all kept hush hush. Um, and before he even met for the interview, somehow the Army, a public affairs officer, and a commander and other people have found out and started blowing up Sean's phone. So now Sean is a prior Navy SEAL and a CIA contractor. And after that interview, he took his family and disappeared for a few days.
Yeah.
If that gives you any indication of how shady some of the stuff going on is, for a guy like that to feel unsafe is pretty. It speaks volumes to me. And both guys, you could tell both guys on the interview are nervous. Like they're not, they don't feel good about what's going on at all. Because
Yeah.
one of the things that is, I haven't seen too many people talk about, the email, the messages. Some messages were sent to him over Signal. So that the email was sent using Proton Mail, and then reached out again, supposedly through Signal to kind of confirm and have some other comms. And he told this guy, who runs that page, to please. He asked him if he could please help him get on the Sean Ryan show. So he's asking to help him get on these shows and with these people.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound like someone who's expecting to hang it up soon. You know
And
what I mean?
also just to just that Signal thing, just in case people haven't heard of it, but it's kind of like a WhatsApp kind of deal, but Signal is used by special forces. I mean, they all have it. I mean,
Right.
we have mutual friends. We've had him on the podcast before, Jax. Like there's
Mhm.
things that he will talk about on Signal and not over text. And I don't know if it's actually that secure, but that community does use Signal. So
Right.
it's not a weird thing. It's not a sketchy thing. And Proton Mail is the same way.
And when you have each individual user for Signal has I forget what it's called. It's like a security key, security
Yeah.
code of some sort, and you can change it.
Yep.
If you Someone showed I guess his chat box, and it showed that code changing like 2 days before, and then it changed again the next day after he was dead, supposedly.
Hmm.
So how did it change? Who changed it?
Hmm. Yeah. I don't know.
There's fucking so many questions, man.
I mean, I don't think that it's completely hack proof. I think that the government creates things like that because we know the government made the dark web. So, I mean,
I'm fairly certain, someone confirmed I was listening on X. They have these, they called spaces where you can just join and talk with people. There was like 2,000 people in there, and it was a bunch of people. Sean Ryan was there. There was a bunch of military folks and CIA analysts, people who are just giving their insight and their opinions on things. Someone said that it's widely believed that the NSA created Signal anyways.
They
So
probably did.
of course they have
Yeah.
backdoors, and if they're working with the CIA to do some weird shit, they're no doubt gonna get access to whatever they want. But um, yeah, an interesting, really really interesting
We'll probably
turn of
never
events.
never know what actually happened.
Probably not. The
But I
only
think
thing that I
everybody
could,
knows that the State of the Union right now is pretty fucking weird, and
yeah,
there's a lot of shit going on that people don't know about. I'm privy to some of it, and it's pretty sketchy. And like this is one of the reasons I want to get out of the line of work that I'm in, because I'm sick of knowing. I'd rather disappear in the woods and just forget it all happened. Like I don't even want to know what happens. I'm going to stay
yeah.
off the news. Like I think that it's about to get way worse, and
Well, yeah, 'cause
I'm not
he talks
trying to
about
homestead for fun. Like I'm really
right.
doing it for self-preservation.
Yeah, no doubt. And he talks about the drones and technology that only we in China have, and how it's really dangerous. He talks about the war crimes over there, um, and he makes it seem like the goal of this action, if it was a suicide, is to bring awareness to this and get it out in the open. But also, this to me, you and I both know a lot of prior military people. This isn't the kind of thing that those kind of guys kill themselves over.
Yeah. The other thing too about war crimes is like I witnessed one, but it's not. It was like a preservation moment. I mean, it was like it either happened or it didn't happen, and we were all going to be in a lot of trouble if it
Yeah,
didn't happen. So, and our captain was relieved for it. We signed his dismissal notice. I mean, just because he was like, I did this for y'all. Like we knew it was coming. But it's like war crimes don't necessarily mean killing women and children. And like in my case, that's not what it was. We just used something we weren't supposed to use, but we had to.
right.
We had no choice. And
In this case, though, it
in
was
this
like
case,
hundreds of civilians,
that's what I was going to
and
say. In this case, it was I think it had to do with when they were bombing those hospitals over there. Um, so my case, there's nothing for me to fear. It's just it was a thing that happened. But in his case, like if you actually have knowledge of all this stuff, I mean, if you look up the Obama stuff, it's like he is a war criminal, period. But he
oh,
he got away with
100%.
it.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
but yeah, this is definitely something that they were probably trying to stop him from talking about. And if he was trying to get away and
Yeah,
created a thing that he would make sure, because if you tell people I got the feds know I got a V bid, they don't know how big it is. They're definitely
sure,
going to leave you alone.
of course. And
Um,
if a Green Beret tells you he's got a V bid,
you believe it.
I'm assuming it's a big fucking.
It's a big one. I mean,
Um,
think about the last one. It took down an entire building in Oklahoma. So, I
yeah,
mean,
oh,
he was a
that's another one.
sapper, but either way,
If it was him, we still don't know who the John Doe number 2 was,
yeah, it's true.
or why the ATF nearby had a
Yeah,
number of Ryder trucks or U-Haul trucks for weeks ahead of time. That one's
yep.
really fucking shady too. If you dig
They're
into that
all
one,
shady. I
100%.
don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know. But
Mm-mm. I don't think so either.
well, there's that and our thoughts on it. But I think the immigration thing is important.
I
And
do.
before we start, I just wanted to say, because I've had this conversation, there's a few things that in my real life I will have a conversation about unapologetically, and I will argue with anyone because I probably know more than you. And one of them is I'm not as good at this one, but I am pretty well versed on it. But I want to just state ahead of time, we don't talk about politics. Border security is not a political topic.
No.
Immigration is not a political topic. It is a public safety topic. Just like someone coming into your house uninvited, that is a public safety. That is not a political thing. No one walks inside my house and goes, "Well, I'm a liberal, so I can." That doesn't happen. It's public safety. I don't want strangers in my house. This is my country. I don't want strangers in my country. We have the criteria to legally enter the United States, and you have to meet that criteria. And before we even get into it, we can't accept everyone. And people will say this is a country founded by immigration. It wasn't. It was a country founded by colonialists that came over here to
Colonize.
colonize this country. And if you forget that, remember how much they say it. They always tell us that we're colonizers and not immigrants. Well, now all of a sudden we're immigrants? No. And I'm not agreeing with it. I'm just saying I had nothing to do with that. I was born 200 years later. But but the point being, 300 years later, I guess. The point being, immigration is fine. I'm for it. I have a friend that is, well, he's no longer, he got married recently, but he was an illegal immigrant for years. Paid his taxes. He owned 2 homes in Florida. Good dude. He's still good friends of mine. I hang out with him once a year in Helen, Georgia. He is an awesome dude. He owns a business in Florida.
Productive member of society.
Yeah, but he couldn't get a green card because of the way he was brought in this country by his family, and he basically got fucked over, and his family never submitted for his stuff, and he got deported. And then he snuck back in because that's where he lives. Yeah. He's lived here his whole life, and he got deported and came back. And he's been living, and he refused, because I told Andy, I was like, I'll divorce you right now and marry him so he can get citizenship. And he was like, if I do it, I'm doing it the right way. I'm not just going to marry someone to get citizenship. He's a good dude. And he did. He just got married last year, and he's been in this country illegally his whole life. He's the same age as me. But anyway, the point being, again, the front yard thing, how many people can I fit in my front yard?
Sure.
100, right? So how many people can we fit in this country? Like, how many? And it's like, yeah, this country's vast, but there's not livable space.
No.
So
there's not resources for.
There is a point where we come full. And I'm saying all the nasty stuff up front before we get into straight facts. So everyone is allowed an opinion. You're totally allowed to have your opinion, but you are not allowed to have your own facts. And I have prepared some facts.
Let's get into it.
So there's several ways to enter the U.S., and I wrote all this down, so I'm going to read it, but it's my writing, so it should make sense. But anyway, the legal avenues include visas, asylum, refugee status, or green cards. And each of those avenues they have strict requirements, and I'm not going to go over all of them. But so the legal criteria, let me move this so I can scroll properly in my word pad. So non-immigrant visas, those are temporary stays. There's ways you can do it. There's different types of visas, B1, B2, F1, H1B. There's a ton. So basically you have to fit all the qualifications to come in. That's how it works. Immigrant visas. These are for permanent residency. So you can be sponsored by a family member. You can have an employment-based green card. And then there's a diversity visa that's basically a lottery system that nobody really, but you have to have family ties or a skill that the country needs. It requires background checks, medical examinations, all this stuff. And you have to be sponsored by either family or employer. So that's one way. Here's the way that most people are doing. We also have temporary protected status, which is temporary, but I don't need to go into that. So we're going to talk specifically about asylum and refugee status, because that is the easiest way in. So if you're already in the U.S. and you're seeking protection due to persecution or fear in your home country based on race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or membership in a particular social group, or your refugee status is similar to asylum but applied from outside the U.S. So either you're in the U.S. or out, you have to prove prosecution or credible fear, and you have to have your application done within 1 year of arrival. And then there's a crazy screening process and background checks, intentional, because we don't want to just let ISIS members in this country. So the reality is, in order to get asylum and refugee status, you can just walk into a border patrol station. You can walk right in and go, I have credible fear of my life. They call them the magic words. I have credible fear of my life, and I'm seeking asylum. Mm-hmm. And we will let you in. And then we will give you a court date that's 7 to 11 years from now. Right? But their process has started, and you're doing it legally. Anyone can do that other than Mexican. OTM. Well, there's some like foreign countries. So there's OTM other than Mexican. So if Mexicans come over, they just send them back. If you're Guatemalan, Argentinian, whatever, you can come here and seek asylum and get a court date. But the reality is about 10% of people actually fit the qualifications. 10% of people that come in fit the qualifications. Yeah. So then you will end up getting deported. But here's the issue. They're not doing that. And the reason why is because the cartel owns the entire border, like 2 miles out. So in order to even enter 2 miles from the United States, you have to pay the cartel to let you in. And the cartel is not going to take you to the immigration station. They're going to take you to the wall and shovel you across the wall with a cell phone. And as soon as you cross the border, they say, call 911. And that's what they call give-ups. So the give-ups come into this country, and they give up right there because they already know that we'll take them and give them asylum.
Yep.
They won't get charged for shit because we don't have enough. There's not enough employees to take care of it. So that's the main thing. The other thing is called gotaways. So gotaways are when they come in and they don't call, they just leave. Those are the ones I'm worried about.
Yeah.
and the gotaways far
Outweigh.
outweigh the give ups.
Yep.
So the give ups usually will probably never see their day in court. They're going to come into this country, get into the family or whoever. They're going to work illegally their entire life and probably be productive members of society unless they didn't have the money to get here. Then they owe the cartel money. So what happens is they come in this country illegally with no money. They get in, they do their asylum or their gotaway status, and now they work for the cartel until they pay off their debt. And we all know what the cartel does. So why aren't they coming in legally? Why are they not? Because they know they can't get in legally. So that is my issue with illegal immigration. It has nothing to do with the person. It has to do with why they're not doing it correctly. Why are they not doing it correctly? Why are they running the border? And I don't care who you are. There's really no argument either way. But the problem with it is the sheriffs on the southern border, they are on the front lines of this, and they're the only ones that can speak out about it because they are hired by the people. They are not a government appointed person. Everybody else has a gag order. The Border Patrol, the police department, no one can talk other than the sheriffs. You can go on YouTube and watch a ton of sheriffs talking about this because they're allowed to, because like I said, they're hired by the people. They have no boss.
Right.
But the big problem here, and I have all this cited, and I got it, every single one of these from the Border Patrol or the immigration site or the Sheriff's Association. So the biggest problem we have is the strain on law enforcement resources. These are small towns.
Yeah.
They have like a sheriff and 2 or 3 deputies. That's it. So if they are dealing with 10 to 20 illegal crossings a day that they have to go respond to, what happens to their town? It gets left away. But the problem is the surge in illegal crossings has overwhelmed our law enforcement. The sheriffs, I wrote all this. The sheriffs report the deputies are stretched thin. Well, I copy and pasted it from the sites. But anyway, this is managing increased criminal activities linked to the border insecurity, including human trafficking, drug smuggling, and violent crimes. The American Sheriff Alliance highlights the rise in encounters with individuals on the terrorist watch list. So these are the people they've caught on the terrorist watch list from 2021 to 2023 had a 906% increase. That's just terrorist watch list people. Additionally, arrests of non-citizens with criminal convictions from 2021 to 2023 went up 183%. That's 18,586 arrests in 2023. I would guarantee last year is doubled. Another thing people don't think about is the overwhelmed healthcare systems. So the influx of migrants has placed immense pressure on local healthcare facilities. Hospitals near the border are experiencing increased patient loads, often without corresponding increases in resources or staffing, which means these immigrants are coming in here pregnant, diseased, gunshot wounds, staph infection, whatever. They are going to the one hospital in these little towns on the border, and the doctors are working on them for free. They're never getting reimbursed for it. So these hospitals are closing because they can't stay open, and they are getting rid of people that live in that town's appointments because they can't see people that live in the town, the people that pay taxes to be there. Yeah. They can't get an appointment.
Or they're having to jack prices up so much, which drives insurance up, which makes it harder for people like me and you that have a family to take care of to be able to afford fucking healthcare.
Correct. Staffing and challenges in Border Patrol and law enforcement. I don't even really need to read this, what I wrote, but it boils down to, I mean, we all remember defund the police and everybody hates cops. So no one's joining. No one's signing up to do it. They're just understaffed.
Why would you want to in this
climate? Yeah, fuck no.
Kind of problems.
Especially the Border Patrol. What a mess. I wouldn't want to work there. So economic and community impact was I have 2 bullets left. So local economies are affected. Resources that could be allocated to the community development are diverted to address the immediate challenges posed by border insecurity. Increased presence of criminal organizations such as Sinaloa and the Jalisco New Generation cartels exacerbates public safety concerns and hinders economic growth. And then the last one was the national security concerns, because these people aren't staying at the border. They're coming into the country. They're disappearing. And the way they're doing it is they are literally hiring people on social media to go sit in to drive. They'll go and rent a car that's in the same state so they don't get pulled over and have an out-of-state license plate. That's how bad it is. If you have an out-of-state license plate on the border, you get pulled over. That's how bad it is. I mean, every sheriff is seeing 9 to 10 a day. Every single one. Like deputies, all of them. They're all dealing with 9 to 10 a day. And it takes time to do all that. But anyway, these people are hiding in the woods in camouflage. Yeah. The car pulls up on the side of the road, pulls over. They ditch their camouflage and their dirty shoes. They get in the car. They put on fresh clothes with fresh shoes. That way, if they get pulled over, they don't look like they've been walking through the desert for the past day. And then they take off and they go straight up into the rest of the country. But anyway, The significant rise in encounters with individuals on the terrorist watch list at the southwest border poses serious homeland security concerns. The lack of information and vetting of these individuals' intentions, criminal histories, or connections to adversaries worldwide underscores the critical need for enhanced border security measures, and that's on the Sheriff's Association website. In conclusion, sheriffs along the southern border advocate for comprehensive strategies to enhance border security. Addressing these challenges require a multifaceted approach, including increased staffing for law enforcement and healthcare facilities, improved infrastructure, and robust policies to manage and mitigate the complex issues arising from border security. So that's everything that I wrote. Those are the facts that I said you can't debate because they're just fucking facts.
Right.
We have a serious problem going on. I mean, serious. We don't know who's coming in. We don't know who these people are. And they get arrested all the time for doing horrible things to U.S. citizens. The amount of money we're spending, I don't have it exactly, but it was like $40 million a week per county on the border is going towards the immigrant crisis, which it is a crisis, but everybody says it odd. They say it the other way. Like,
yeah,
it's something has to be done. The wall it just has to be done. We're literally fucking ourselves right up the ass.
People have got to get out of their own way and away from this idea that, we're America. We're supposed to open everyone with open arms and be a safe place.
Some people, not bad people.
No, I agree. We should be a beacon of freedom and hope for people in the world.
I'm all for immigration. All for
but you got to do it the right way. And
there's laws in place that should be enforced. We're not enforced.
Correct.
If you want to change the laws to let everyone in, go vote and change the laws.
Yeah.
Then it's like, those are the laws. But we have laws in place that are not being enforced. And that is my problem with it, because all U.S. citizens are subject to laws, but the immigrants aren't.
Right.
Okay. How much sense does that make?
Well, none. And when they cross the border and they go through, for those that go through the channels to go to seek asylum and do that stuff, right? And they get some cash, they get
cell phone,
a cell
place
phone,
to live, they get free transport to the place to live.
Right. Then they
shut down entire apartment what are they called? Hotels. They've shut entire hotels down, and the government owns them now, and they keep migrants there for free.
And they're for free, and they're getting a stipend each month.
Yep.
They're living better than I am.
100%. No rent, no bills.
Is that fair?
And free money from the government, from our taxes, by the way. If you could opt out of it's just. The problem is people don't look into it. They just go, oh, we should be compassionate. I fucking agree. I agree with you. We should, but we're not. We're not being.
Yeah, but how about being compassionate?
This isn't compassion.
How about being compassionate for your fellow American citizens?
Well, just taxpayers. I mean, if you're paying taxes, you should have a problem with this. That's just flat out.
Yeah, yeah. And when you couple that with the money we're sending to the Taliban and the number of potential,
and Ukraine and everywhere else, and
everywhere else,
it's like.
And it's not, it's been shown, it's been, people on the terrorist watch list coming through the southern border, Chinese nationals, potentially fighting age males from China coming into the country. And, go back to the comment about the drones, right? Like how many, and you brought this up in a conversation we had, how many of those are potentially, have military training? We don't know.
But could be.
Yeah, it's just one of those things.
The other thing too is you see the pictures of them coming over, and it's like asylum seekers bring their family with them. It's not 60 dudes seeking asylum. I'm sorry, it's just not.
No.
There's not 60 military age male. It's just not. That's not what's happening.
Fear for their life.
Yeah.
Where's mom? Where's sister? Where's the wife and kids? Most men, real men, when they're leaving a dangerous place, they don't leave.
You don't abandon
anything.
women.
They stay behind.
Yep.
To hold shit down and get their people out of there. That's not what we're seeing.
We're seeing military age males coming into this country, and I mean, if people want to be blind to it, that's fine. But when shit starts happening, I mean, it's your fault. I mean, it's coming. It's 100. We talked about it in the beginning of this podcast. Like it's coming.
And that's
just look at the numbers.
And the cartels are bad. Like people act like the cartels are a thing down there. Cartels are here. They own Myrtle Beach.
Dude, they own the majority of they own the majority of because here's the thing. There's 11 million undocumented immigrants in this and came to the country since 2022. 11 million. That's not the people that gave up. That's people that snuck in. They're on camera. They got away. Arrested. 11 million people. That's a fighting force, dude. We're in a lot of trouble. How many people are in the military? How
Well,
many?
think about this. If the whole training pipeline thing we talked about earlier is true, and Al Qaeda does have 1,000 trained fighters in this country, we saw in New Orleans what one person can do with a truck and a firearm.
Look, look, I just had to look it up. So yeah, well, all
So
right.
imagine what 1,000 people can do together or spread out across the country.
So including active duty, reserve, National Guard, and civilian workers, which is pretty crazy. They include that. There's 2.86 million military people in this country, and we have let 11 million immigrants in. And again, we just saw one guy kill 7 people, one
Yeah,
person. And the other thing too is people got to remember is a Green Beret team is 12 people.
right.
So you have 12 people will control an entire province, a whole province with with military and air fleet, air sport and shit like that. But
Sure.
you have 12 people going out there and killing everyone. So if you have 12 militarily trained men show up in your town, you're in trouble. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just going to be. I mean, it's just coming.
Um, have you heard about these new suicide vests
No,
that are undetectable to
or
uh,
the ceramic.
I don't know what they're made out of. Apparently they've there's apparently they use Twitter and shit or X a lot to post a lot of their propaganda, and they've posted instructions and shown how to make these things. The only way to detect them is with a millimeter wave scanner.
Mm,
They get through all of the other dogs can't smell it or detect it.
mm,
Um, and this came from the group that developed this is ISIS in the Arabian Peninsula. I think the one's based down there in Yemen,
yeah.
and like, they're super proud of it, and so between the potential for man pads to be in the country, those are surface to air rockets, right? Those are, like,
Hmm.
handheld. So, in those interviews with those people, they talk about the homeland attack, including, um, aircraft, airline attacks. Um, like, that's
Yeah.
been a terrorism MO for
I mean, MANPAD
a
stands.
long time.
I can't remember what it stands for, but it's like manually packed air defense system or something, or
Okay,
man packed air defense system. Like they're made for you to carry it around. But
right.
yeah, that's how we won the fucking war. That's how the Mujahideen defeated. That was weird. That's how the Mujahideen defeated the Russians. We gave
Yeah,
them all fucking air defense shit, and they started
right.
shooting helicopters out of the sky.
Dude, and for anyone listening, if you're not up to speed on the history of the United States intelligence community, the CIA and the Taliban and the Mujahideen, um, and the fact that we've been pumping money into that organization while like we were paying them while we were fighting a war,
Yep.
while they were killing people,
Yep.
American soldiers, we were giving them money.
Yep. And then we left them armed to the tooth.
Yeah,
We basically left them all of our shit. I mean, we didn't bring anything back really. And everything that we had outside of there, we've given to Ukraine. So
yeah.
it's like,
And you know who visits and goes to Afghanistan to meet with them regularly and meet with each other?
mm,
Iran,
yeah,
China, Russia. You think they're not helping them out? You think
100%.
you're not feeding them intel? And so one of the things I think about is kind of from our the perspective of our what we do for work is if you take, let's say that they do successfully have 1,000 trained fighters, right? And they're not all trained in the same thing. Some are trained on to be a suicide bomber, some are logistics and admin. They move money. Everyone and they go to different camps. Um, so they don't go to the same camps. They these interviews have blown my mind. They've really like they are operating like a legit fighting force. When they're
Yeah.
in camp training, they go by aliases. None of them know where each other comes from or what their real names are. Like it's fucking. We are just so underprepared. I think for the potential of what's to come. And I cannot. I told Jessica this. I cannot. We cannot get out of here fucking soon enough.
Yeah. I don't, I, I'm worried that because I'm looking at like October timeframe and I'm worried that by then it'll just be the country will be in shambles. I mean, I think the government's too big to fail. And I say that for a lot of reasons because, well, I haven't, I know something that
Sure.
I know there's a reason that like we're never going to go away, but, um, certain partnerships that we have. But anywho,
Yeah. There's so we're saying all this, and what I think Matt is alluding to is that all this stuff that you're seeing, this jockeying for power and position and war, I th- underlining it all is this crazy geopolitical thing where China's economy cannot survive without us.
Yeah.
And kind of, but really
Unless they own
it's both
us,
ways.
then it won't
Well,
matter because they'll own everything.
well, and they own a whole lot of fucking land, and we
Yeah.
owe them a whole lot of fucking money, but they rely on
And
our
a lot of that land is around military bases,
yeah.
oddly. It's almost like they're ready to expand them. They can add barracks for the Chinese people. That's what it is. They're buying up land so they can put China barracks when they take over
Ugh,
the base.
that'd be some shit, man. Yeah, it's a scary situation to think about. Um, I was going
Yeah.
somewhere earlier when with the whole, and I forget what it was, but um, yeah. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't I don't really know. And that's not and the other thing too is people look at the government and they're like, "Oh, they're fucking super smart people that control the world." And all. It's like, no, I work with
I
them.
work there.
They're not.
They're not,
Most of them are idiots. I mean, fucking straight up idiots, especially the ones that are in charge. Like they got there because
dude.
they were yes
I
men and sucked a lot of dick to get to the top.
so
And
the DoD is a space of its own. Like
yeah,
uh, when I moved to the federal side away from the DoD, the federal government itself is the definition of fraud, waste, and abuse. There are people making money and being paid that report directly to Congress
yeah,
that I interact with on a few times a year, but I see their communications, I see the decisions they make. I don't know how these people get their fucking job. I don't know how they're not fired. Like
I
this idea of failing upwards
it
is
blows my
is
mind.
something. It's something else, man. Because if I made decisions and did things like these people do, I'd be fired in a heartbeat.
The other thing too
You
is
know?
I figured this out when I was in the military, and it was one of the reasons that got me getting out. It's because I realized that everyone, if you just stay in long enough and you just you do what you're supposed to do,
Mhm.
you get promoted. So like
Yeah,
the sergeant major of the army was at one time a private.
sure.
Um, and the amount of privates I knew that were smart was fucking slim to none. And it seemed to me that most people that were smart got out and got a civilian job, and the
Right.
people that were left over were the ones that were dumb as a rock. But guess what? They got promoted. And then you take
Yep.
the smartest of those dumb rocks, and those are the ones that are sergeant major of the army, or the first sergeant, or command
Right.
sergeant major, or whatever. It's like those are the smartest. Not saying that that's 100% the case,
Right.
but that's where I
The
first started to
potential
see
the
it
potential for that
is high.
is high. Like there is this potential where at a certain point in leadership, as long as you toe the party line, depending on what kind of position you're in, because a lot of these leadership positions are political appointments. As long as you toe the line and you stay out of trouble,
Do what you're told. If you do what you're told, you get
right?
promoted in the government. Period. So the
But if
people
you
that do what they're told, they're the ones that get to be in charge. That's why everybody had a problem with Trump in the government. Not, I mean,
mhm,
if you grab him by the pussy, whatever. If you, I don't care. But and the government, the reason they don't like him is because he doesn't toe the line, and
mhm,
that's the reason that he had because people that know what's going on. That's the reason they voted for him. That's where he landslide win
yep.
because
That's why
they
I'm
know that if they elect her, she's going to continue to just toe the line and
right.
do what she's told, and we're going to have 4 more years of shit we've already had.
Yep. That's why Stanley McChrystal was his resignation was requested
Yeah,
because he was not towing that Obama bullshit Democratic. We're going to do things this way. Stanley
I
McChrystal
know
was
where it goes
yeah.
if we continue to keep those people that toe the line that just do what they're told. I know where that goes. So like if anybody were to ask my opinion on who to vote for, I mean it's over now, but I would have said Trump because like we already know what's going to happen if you elect the person that worked her way up
Sure.
by doing whatever she was told to do. I
Right.
would rather take the chance of the guy that talks shit on Twitter and has a foul mouth or whatever you want to say about him. I would still take him over somebody that toes the line because I know where it goes. I know
Sure.
where it goes. It turns into communism. It turns into socialism, which we are very fucking close to that anyway. I mean, we do have like a democratic socialist, whatever. Um, yeah, it's I just when people are like they and talk about them and they and the government, and it's like, you don't really know what you're talking about. There's a bunch of idiots in there,
There is a lot of
and
idiots.
that's
Unfortunately,
the reason we're in the spot we're in because we don't have any smart people making decisions.
yeah, unfortunately, those idiots are in power, and the only thing they care about is you know,
Yep.
padding their wallets. And Maybe we should do another podcast where we just talk about money.
Oh, all the Ukraine kickbacks,
The
the
Ukraine
$93
kickbacks.
million that that Biden got from
Dude, tell
Ukraine.
me how that's not between that and the sending money to the
Yeah.
Taliban for all this time. How is that not treason?
I don't get
If
it. I don't understand.
if you, as an active duty person, had made a $10 donation to the Taliban while you
I'd
were
be
active duty,
fucked. Yeah,
you'd be in jail right
I
now.
would be in jail.
Yeah.
That's what I
Even
said.
as a
It's rules for us. We the people are the ones getting fucked here. It's on every front.
Mhm.
They do whatever they want, but we still have to abide by all the rules that they put in place. And if we do what they do, we go to jail. We go to jail. Hillary Clinton, for instance, the email server. If I had a fucking classified email server at my house, I would never get out of jail ever. I would be there forever.
Yeah.
She didn't get shit. Nothing.
Nada. I mean, all the things that have come to light with Biden
And also, before anyone goes, well, she had a reason. You think I don't? I work in that shit. I mean, I could sit here at home and work.
yeah, it
It'd
doesn't
be
matter.
way easier.
No one is above the law. We have data and access control laws and requirements for protecting data like that, and having a classified server at your fucking house ain't it, man.
No, it's unbelievable. That was fun to talk about because, I don't really talk about stuff like that unless it's like close friends. Because I just know, but I think at this point with the podcast, we don't really give a shit what you think about us. So
Yeah.
And I also think most people are going to be like, I did not know that, and it'll kind of resonate. And maybe I challenge you to fact check me and put it in the comments.
Do it.
If you think something I said was incorrect, I'm willing to learn.
Yep.
I'm just telling you, it's going to take you a long time to find it, and it better be a verified source. Like I'm pulling it straight from Sheriff's Association, Office of Inspector General. I pulled one thing, Border Patrol. I mean, I'm telling you, ICE. I mean, the Homeland Security Office of Inspector General website I've got pulled up. I also have a couple. I won't get into them, but I have some New York Post things that I pulled in. They're completely opposite. Say the exact opposite thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of that too. It's hard to believe anything you see and read anymore, man.
I know. But anyway, hopefully that was informational, or at least give you something to look. You should be looking into this stuff. It's important.
It is important. This is our country. This is our tax dollars. This is our kids' future.
Especially parents. Why there's not more outraged parents, I don't get. I mean, I don't have kids, so it's like whatever. I just got to make it till I die. But those of you that are raising children, I mean, if you're blissfully ignorant to this, to me, that's not. That's just crazy. Like you should be very active in your community trying to stop this.
Yeah, it's
because the world you live in today won't be here in 30 years.
Nope, and that's it keeps me up at night, and is why I'm so focused on getting out of here and getting on some property, away from things and people, and teaching my kids to be more self-sufficient and take care of ourselves. Because I think, if things don't improve and get better, it's those who are unable to do that and capable of that are going to be the ones that suffer hard.
And I'll tell you how crazy I am about it. I have the paperwork on this computer. It's not pulled up right now. Otherwise I'd show it. But I have the paperwork done already to unincorporate my road.
Nice.
I will not have any access. No, that's it. You're not coming up in here, period. No government access. It becomes a unincorporated part of America. And
that's cool.
The people that own the land that are in there with me, they're all down. So it's
nice.
It's
nice. That's the nice thing about that part of the country is I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to keep the government out of here.
Yeah. Done.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. All day. Question. I mean, we'll lose some things, but it's like, I don't care. I'll drive to the dump to take my trash to the dump. I don't give a shit. I'll get a PO box. I don't care about that.
Right.
I will do what I got to do. I
want a PO box anyways.
Yeah. Yep. But
cool,
man.
Right.
Do you have anything else? I think I'm done.
No, I think I'm done. I'm going to go cook a pound of beef and eat it. I'm hungry.
Same. I'm going to make another hamburger omelet because it was delicious yesterday.
Cool.
All right.
Well, thanks for tuning in, folks.